Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, while they are premiering, I should say. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out to Tom Herkins, Tina Baker, theflatearthchannel.com, Texas Mike, Skeptic936, Sam Hine, Sally Ballis, Rune, Reinhardt, Qatar Craig, Naibai, Matt, Life is Short, Kirsten Smith, Jeranism, Godrockin, Fireball X, Felix Hung, Edwin Johnson, David Wayne Foster, David Rakia Gafford, Dank, Chow Young Cat, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As the Earth, Billy Highvault, Alistair Main and Adrian Quintana. So massive shout out to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now we are actually in the in-between stages between two live shows, hence my cocking up of the intro. So I'm going to unmute the guys on Discord and G+, and you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for the second live show of the day.
Dulcet tones.
Yeah, by the way, I scrolled through the
when
article, and the proof that was presented by the astronaut is, in response to conspiracy theory if the Earth is flat, is a quote. It is a sphere. I have seen it with my own eyes, so I can tell you this myself.
Bullshit!
That's it.
You've seen the flat Earth with your own eyes, are we?
The Earth is a giant.
So anyway, a conspiracy theorist
that's his evidence.
Claimed that
And
they
that's why the
got
article
the
ends.
chaos.
And now for the cowbell.
When did you read it?
No.
When was it?
It was in my Google news feed this morning.
What is an asteroid?
An asteroid is any body larger. I can't remember how big it is. That orbits a star, but it's smaller than a planet.
An asteroid is a star. Sorry, what?
No, it's an object that's smaller than a planet, and it's not a comet, but orbits a star. And there's a certain size it has to be bigger than, but I can't recall.
Like an astronaut? So is an astronaut?
Wait a minute, what's your evidence of this?
One at a time. Either Paul or Dances with Wolves, one or the other, I don't care who.
Hey Nathan,
is
you're not
an
live
astronaut
streaming
an asteroid? No, an astronaut is not an asteroid.
But it meets the specifications of what you just said.
Because, because the astronaut doesn't orbit the sun.
It has to be rocky.
And he's smaller than an asteroid. Yeah, it has to be rocky.
But everything in the solar system.
Hold on a second. I know. Just wait. 10th. What did you say?
Nathan is not streaming the live show.
No, I'm not. We're in the pre-show. I will be ever so shortly. I'm just setting things up.
All right, gotcha. It says
All right,
7:30.
continue. Okay, go ahead, Discordia. Continue over talking each other. Go.
The thing is, John, I think there's a slight hiccup between the Skype and the Discord.
There is.
Look, I don't know. Why do you guys not just join Discord and abandon Skype?
Sorry,
a good point.
Are you producing my show again, Chris?
It's just a suggestion.
Oh, thank you. Very kind.
You're welcome.
Hey, Chris, what's your evidence of these so-called asteroids? What's your evidence for those? Please, could you share that and demonstrate how?
I don't have any evidence. I'm afraid I don't have any evidence for asteroids, but I'm sure you could find some. Like amateur astronomers detect them all the time. I think they even name them after themselves if they detect one that's significant enough.
That's very modest.
I just found it amusing. It's an Express article, the Express paper. It's a tabloid. It's usually nonsense.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum, which you should definitely all join. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Chocolate Saying, 10th Man, Quantum Eraser, Righteous Force, The One, Sleeping Warrior, Arwin, and I think that's pretty much it in G+. Welcome one and all.
No, Paul.
Good
Oh, and
afternoon.
Paul. Hello, Paul.
We're good to go.
Hello.
Hello.
We're also joined by a lot of people in Discord. Hello, everyone in Discord. Good to have you all.
Hello.
And yes, we are now live, just so you all are aware.
Right. All right. Cool. Dance's full.
No, I want you to address mine.
So,
Wait a minute, Chris. I want you to address me. Address me, because I asked you a question.
okay. Yeah.
So you have no evidence that asteroids exist. You believe that someone saw them, and this so-called lights in the sky. So you have blind faith in this so-called astronomer that they saw something in the sky, and they call it an asteroid.
I don't personally have any evidence that I can present to you that asteroids exist. However, you could, for example, go to an observatory, and I'm sure they'd be happy to show you how they detect them and track them. They have an entire military wing dedicated to tracking these objects in orbit.
Yeah, but the burden of proof is on you because you're the one making the claim.
Oh, wait a minute, Erwin. That's okay.
Right.
Okay.
No, I was talking about an article.
I'm talking about asteroids because that was the topic. You can change it once we're finished. You can go back to the article, so that's okay. So, how do you know that these things they track in the sky are solid bodies of so-called asteroids? What's your evidence of that?
I suppose I just defer to the experts.
Okay, so you have blind faith that these so-called experts.
Okay, so if you go to the doctor and the doctor tells you have cancer, are you going to want to open yourself up and see the tumor for yourself and confirm it, or are you just going to trust the doctor?
Well, normally most of the doctors I go to, they give me the results, they walk me through and explain it. I have a very good typical understanding of what's going on. I don't just go in and say, the doctor says you have cancer and okay, you can cut me open. Usually they walk me through, they show me the x-rays, they show me the blood test, they walk me through the evidence to show that I have cancer.
Exactly.
And by that point, I would make a wise decision whether to have them cut on me or not. But you have blind faith that someone told
so you could do the same for asteroids. You could go.
He didn't hear you, Paul. He was talking through you the whole time.
No, I heard him. You could go to like an astronomer, an amateur astronomer even, and they will walk you through the process of how they detect.
Oh, so an amateur pseudoscientist. So an amateur pseudoscientist.
John.
He's going to do the same thing as you're doing.
Amateur pseudoscientist, right?
So it says there. Jesus Christ! I
Okay,
just brought up
tired of you.
an article.
I'm tired of you
and then
with your mouth. So I said so. An amateur pseudoscientist, Chris. That deserves an answer. Answer it.
Jesus. I just brought up an article. It was just for conversation, and now you're jumping on me about this nonsense. You could approach an amateur astronomer, or you could approach a professional astronomer, right? And they will walk you through how they detect asteroids.
Okay.
Hold on, both of you. The reason you get hold on, Chris. The reason you're getting talked through is because he's made a point, but you've just not acknowledged it. And
okay, well, I'm afraid a lot of the words are breaking up. Like I said, there must be
Fair
a
enough.
Skype hiccup here. I think there's a bottleneck.
Okay.
So what was it I was supposed to address?
Your blind faith in physical bodies based on the words of pseudoscientists.
Okay, so like I said about the doctor and telling you have cancer, and
we don't want to hear it again.
You know, said we walk you
False
through
We
it.
don't
Said
want to hear it
do
again.
the
We
same
already heard you
with
the first
an
time.
astronomer.
False equivalent.
So
Yep, it's a false equivalence fallacy from the Black Lagoon.
Why?
Because
Why is
we're
it false equivalence
because actual doctors, they're scientists. They have a science background, right? Astronomers are not scientists.
And astronomers don't.
That's right. There are no scientists that are astronomers because astronomy isn't science. They can't follow the scientific method. The things that make something science. Science distinguishes itself. The scientific method distinguishes science from other forms of explanation because of its requirement for systematic experimentation. To have an experiment, you have to have a hypothesis. To have a hypothesis, you have to have a natural phenomena observed. See, they can observe phenomena, astronomers can, but they can't formulate hypotheses. So, astronomers out there, I want one astronomer to come on here, and I want to hear a single viable scientific hypothesis in the entire history of astronomy. I want one. Right
I want
now.
£1,000 from Anthony Riley. Right. Anyway, John, if memory serves,
you have some obsession with Riley.
a
What's wrong
quote
with you, Chris?
from a university.
Yeah, you guys are
that
sounding
was
real
also
bad
the
right now.
Department of
Like, you guys are
Physics and
sounding
Astronomy.
desperate.
What does Anthony Riley
hear
have
that,
to
John?
do with my statement?
No. Right,
Red
John,
hair.
did you hear what I said? You used a quote about the scientific method from a university that included the Department of Physics.
Who cares?
Well, I thought astronomy was not a science, therefore you shouldn't have used that
I
quote.
used a citation from physics labs. I don't care what they call their department. What does that have to do with anything?
You're breaking up.
Look,
Oh,
something can
God.
have a department in a university that doesn't automatically make it science. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Duh. Go back to Gem Panda
Dances with
retard
Fools,
server.
there's some breaking up going on here, so I can't help it. And
Yeah,
John's
I'm sure
long
there
pauses
is.
make me think
In
that he's
between your ears.
Mind.
Thanks, Arwen. Thanks for helping me out.
So, right, let's take an example then about approaching something scientifically. And Arwen, you're involved in this.
No,
so
he's
Arwen,
not.
remember when you scientifically? Yeah, he is. Remember when you
No, he's
scientifically
not. You're
tested
talking to me.
see if you were gay or not? What was your independent variable?
What the? What
That's not
in
a
the
scientific
world?
exploration.
Did I make a scientific claim? I don't
Oh
remember.
my
Yes,
God.
you
It's not a
did. You said
scientific-
I approached this scientifically.
It's not a scientific exploration. It's not a cause and
But
effect.
I'm
not a
just
phenomena.
I'm just saying what Arwen said.
Oh, relative
phenomena.
density. Yeah, definitely. I approach that scientifically in opposition to assuming
said, like-
gravity.
I mean,
So
I don't
that's
care if you're gay or
one
not.
of
It doesn't bother me in the slightest. But like
really?
you said,
You know
I'm
there
not
was a
gay.
relative
I
density
know I'm not
experiment
gay.
done by Anthony Riley. Maybe you should go watch that.
Hey, you coward,
I
Mark
kissed a
Taylor.
guy and I
You little freaking
didn't.
keyboard warrior, you. You won't say a word in the live stream, right? But you'll type away in the chat, right? Tell me,
I'll
why
do what I
shouldn't
want.
I kick your ass out of here for being a yellow spine coward?
Because I'm adorable.
Shut up.
He's talking to Mark Taylor.
Shut up. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Mark Taylor. Come on. I'll tell you what. Come off mute right now or your ass is gone. Where are you?
I don't think he's in there. I think Righteous has moved him to the after show because he wasn't talking, and then he's left.
All right.
Mark is just a spectator anyway.
Yep. So back to my question there, Chris. You're talking to me. I said, give me one astronomer with one single hypothesis viable in the entire history of astronomy. I want to see it right now.
I can't.
You bet your ass you
That's
can't.
an on the spot. That's an on the spot fallacy, John. You should be familiar with that. On the spot fallacy.
Hold on. Go on, Chris. What's the on the spot fallacy?
On the spot fallacy is when you demand evidence immediately, and then when you can't provide it, then they say that your claim is automatically false. That's on the spot fallacy.
So,
off the top of my head, I mean, I could Google it and get the proper definition, but that's the gist.
Can you? It's a new one on me. I've not heard it before. So yes, if you could, that'd be really helpful.
Sorry, dude, but we're working on the really is level here, so we're gonna go straight to the evidence.
I mean, while he's looking it up, I mean, just on the surface of what you've said so far, if you're asking somebody to support a claim they're making, to demand that isn't really an on-the-spot fallacy if they're making a claim that you're demanding backup for.
No, so they've literally found a way to make asking for evidence a fallacy.
Yes, that's correct, Chocolate.
Do you realize this?
Yeah.
Wow, guys.
Okay, may I, Nathan?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, from Rational Wiki.
You're all crackly again, though. Hold on.
Fallacy.
You're all crackly. You've gone all distorted and crackly.
God damn.
I need one of those cards that says technical difficulties with the girl holding the balloon. Like colour code cards. Not that you need them on modern TVs, but...
So Nathan, if there's a on-the-spot fallacy, is there an off-the-spot fallacy as well?
I don't know. But by the sounds of things, I should be able to say to you now, 10th man, unicorns are real. Now you challenge me to prove it. Go on.
All right. Can you prove unicorns are real?
How dare you? That's an on-the-spot fallacy.
Yeah.
Hilarious. Oh my god.
Can somebody read his Rational Wiki source, which is a joke anyway?
Is that
but go ahead.
Yes, that's much better, Chris. Did you find did you post something?
Yeah, I've got it.
Brilliant.
Right,
Can you read it?
An on-the-spot fallacy is a logical fallacy that occurs when a debater is considered wrong or even incapable of having an opinion if they cannot recite specific data or technical minutiae on some topic. The fallacy asserts that one must be an expert on the topic in order to discuss anything related to it, and at that, an expert with flawless...
Ha!
Yeah,
well,
but hold on. But from the sounds of that, Chris, do you appreciate that the fallacy has been positioned from the person making the assertion? So it's positioned in such a way as if I make a claim and then demand that you must be an expert to challenge my claim, but that's not what's happening here. You're making an assertion and we're challenging you to back it. And you're saying because we're asking you to back your assertion, that's this fallacy. But it would only work from the person who's making the positive assertion.
No, I don't think that's the case here. I mentioned an asteroid that I saw in a Google Newsfeed this morning, and John asked me to give him the name of a single astronomer that lives up to his perverted school of quantum laser science, and I can't do that, right? So that he's.
I've had enough of you. You're finished. Next. That's it for him. Get out. In fact, get the fuck out of here.
What? No swearing, please. We are live.
Sorry about that.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
my bad.
It's quite comical that Mathias guy was on.
I'd like to respond to his final statement for a second. Yeah, that's all very interesting, but that's not really what we were talking about eventually during the whole argument. So it was a red herring.
What were we talking about? Remind us. You can't remember.
About making claims and providing evidence for claims and the claim that astronomy is a science and why that's not the case, all that.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you win, Chris.
And not his
your win.
lack of evidence providing.
Oh my God! Shut the fuck up, Arwen.
What are you talking about? Hold on. Arwen was in the middle of a sentence. Bloody hell.
Talking about nonsense. Hey, Chris, go back to friggin' Gem Panda server where you came from with those retards over there, and you dazzle them with your fucking moron sophistry. Don't come back here. Go ahead, Arwen.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Arwen.
Okay. I was just trying to clarify again for everyone roughly what happened. He brought up a meteor thing that, from that moment on, the conversation quickly dwelled off into general science and astronomy and backing your claim and everything about that. And that's really what we've been talking about. That's not, and also burning him on, not his original thingy about the meteor, because that wasn't really relevant anymore. So
I see. Fair enough. Yeah, you're right. You kept track better than I did.
Oh, I'd just like to share. This is somebody shot this at me at Discord. This video, I'm not going to play it obviously, but this is their evidence of asteroids. A light moving through other lights. That's their evidence of asteroids.
Can you make it big?
Guys. I appreciate that.
Can you make it big? Just scrub through it a little bit.
Well, I'm convinced.
Yeah, I am too. I'm convinced now. If I could, it's hard to see without playing it. So,
I mean, if you want to play a few seconds, just keep it to under 10 seconds if you can.
Okay.
Well, just not this bit.
Sorry. Okay. Here we go. You see it?
Yeah, if you can just play till it gets to about 20 seconds. Perfect.
That looks like a burnout pixel.
Yeah, so this light in the sky, this moving in the light in the sky, is proof of a solid body asteroid. Thanks, guys.
Very good.
No wonder he didn't really want to argue for any of these points. Passing on all the housekeeping questions. Like, come on, this is...
Well, how is it that half the astronauts, and I may be off, it could be 40%, say they can't see the lights in the sky, and the other half say, all the stars are everywhere?
Are you around, Righteous Force? Are you there, Righteous?
Yeah.
Are you in the live stream part of the Discord server?
Can be.
Yeah, perfect. Can you come off server mute and stay off mute in the Hangout? In other words, so that you're causing feedback. Can you just do that for me?
Wait, say that again?
That's all I need. Go back on mute. Perfect. So what that demonstrates is that the delay between Hangouts and Discord is less than 1/10 of 1 second. There's no delay. Virtually no delay. Just for the bullshitters like Chris.
It's the old you breaking up trick.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going through a tunnel. Can't
before.
quite hear your devastating question.
Yep. Yeah, Brenda's tried that trick a couple of times too. She was like, "Oh, there's delay," and then I'm in the Discord too, and I hear no delay. So yeah.
Hey, keyboard warrior, send dissent. Come off mute, you little punk. Come off mute and speak.
Can I answer Tentman's question about the stars in the sky and why astronauts?
Hold on a second, the one. Send to Seth. Where the hell that is. Or a rock you crawled out from under. Come off mute, you little coward. I'll tell you what, if you don't come off mute and say something, your ass is gone too. Right now, I'll give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye.
Yeah, go ahead, the one.
Yeah, bye, Felicia. Tentman's question about the astronauts, it's because a lot of the writers in Hollywood went on strike about that time that caused the inconvenience.
The writers went on strike?
Yeah, in Hollywood. They wanted more pay.
You got the citation for that?
Oh, yeah.
I want to see it.
Give me a second.
John, you're in rare form. We got a bouncer in the house. I love it.
Hey, Anon.
Hello.
Not suffering fools today at all. You get the drift.
Yeah, I can tell.
I like it.
Mark Taylor was giving me a hard time in this chat. I'll go, John, let's walk me through how I would figure out, looking at a light in the sky, that that's a solid body that I can land something on. How would you go through that process? Can you help me figure that out, John? How would you do that?
Hold on a second.
How would you what?
How would I go about this light in the sky that's moving across the stars up there? How would I prove that that's a solid body that I can throw something at or land something on or stand on myself, or that's going to enter into our atmosphere and burn up or destroy the world? How would you go about proving that light in the sky is that? How would you go about that?
Physically go to it.
Into this medium that we can't go through?
Well, yeah, you'd have to travel through Narnia. Just for anyone who's watching and doesn't understand what that means. So space, outer space, a sky vacuum claim is fake. You can't have gas pressure which we breathe next to a sky vacuum. The gas would fill the space.
Nathan?
Yes.
I have a suggestion. I know how I can prove that the lights in the sky are real physical objects that we can land rockets on. In the early to mid 90s, the Shoemaker-Levy meteorite shower rained down on Jupiter, and for days and days and days, you could see that all these explosions were all happening on the surface of Jupiter, and that proves that Jupiter's real.
That there is a light in the sky that we can see. It proves that.
No, it proves that there were meteorites and comets. It proves it's real.
I was just about to say, real? Yeah, I can see there's something called Jupiter. I've looked at it with my naked eye. Well, was it with my naked eye or my telescope? I forget. Either way,
the Shoemaker-Levy meteorites are proof that they are real and tangible and physical, and that we could go there. And you're a moron to think that the Shoemaker-Levy meteorites are not real.
To think?
Shoemaker-Levy 9.
Hold on, what do you mean?
Oh, is that the name?
I'm not following you. To think that they're real, you've only just told me about them, and they're just lights in the sky. What do these other lights in the sky that weren't formerly seen until a certain time? How does that prove physicality? I don't follow you.
Well, how would they crash into the surface of Jupiter if they weren't real?
What do you mean? Well, that's a presupposition that they're crashing into the surface, that it's got a surface and it's being crashed into. The lights meet in the sky, correct? Where are you getting crashing and surfaces from? This is all presupposition.
Yeah, but you can see something. You can see lights crashing into something, so it looks like lights are crashing into lights and having some kind of...
There's that word again. Crashing. That implies physicality. That's a presupposition that you're trying to prove.
Yeah. Well, how else would you explain lights crashing into lights and causing explosions?
There you go again with this crashing word.
So are you saying that the Shoemaker-Levy meteorite storm in the mid-90s is fake?
No, I'm saying lights interacting with each other is very different than you suggesting a crashing of physicality when you're suggesting that these lights and their interactions just by default prove physicality because you presuppose they're crashing? Well, no.
NASA told me that they were crashing. Is that not good enough?
No. It doesn't matter who says it either.
Okay, give me a minute. I'm going to look up on Wikipedia for evidence that supports my assertion. Hang on.
You're going to Google it after you've made the assertion. That's lovely.
No, I'm going to look it up on Wiki because that's my Bible.
Yeah. You already made the claim, though, eh? So what?
Yeah.
I haven't actually asked you to provide any further cowbell, but you're way ahead in character and off to Google after making your claim. But were I have said, can you give me any support for your claim beyond just pulling apart the fallacy in the statement? You'd now be Googling it or saying on the spot fallacy, right?
Yeah, it's an on the spot fallacy, Nathan, that I don't know what to say next. So what I'm going to do, Nathan, I'm going to go onto my Bible, and here we are on Wikipedia, and this tells me that the Shoemaker-Levy 9 comet was a comet that broke apart in July 1992 and collided with Jupiter in July 1994. If it's collided with Jupiter, Nathan, it must be physical, right? Because how would it not collide if it wasn't?
The story that they were giving, I remember watching this as a young youth, being fascinated by it on Discovery Channel and all this other crap. So the story was this couple, the Shoemakers, and this one guy, Levy, apparently discovered this shit. But the idea was that these things were, the comet was getting close, and then the gravitational force broke it apart to a pearl. So there was like a line of these comets, or whatever the fuck you want to call them. And then they hit the Jupiter, and then Jupiter was scarred. So you could see like these black marks on Jupiter, like 4 or 5 of them, for months or weeks. I forget how long. Unfortunately, I was poor and I was a kid and I didn't have any way to verify this. So if right now, if it happened, I can pull out my telescope, or even maybe the P900 with the proper focus. You can actually look and kind of see what they were talking about. But there's no way for me to validate this myself.
Isn't Jupiter a gas giant?
Correct, and they were trying to figure out why is it staying there for so long? Maybe it's liquid, and there's gas and liquid.
Actually,
things are crashing into gas.
Yeah, things are crashing into gases, and then they're
Things
leaving
are crashing into
stars
gas
that stay for months.
that's sticking together in a vacuum. That's adorable.
For weeks or months, I forget how long. Just I'm sure it's in the wiki that the scars were there for literally like a long time.
Okay.
Yeah, longer than when you would
actually. Real quick, I actually had a
hold on, Paul.
telescope
Sorry,
during that time.
Anthony's got one point in. I just didn't get an address to it. So Anthony's gone to the first word he highlighted, and I think it was collided.
Yeah.
That's just a presupposition, isn't it? Isn't that what you're trying to prove, as opposed to asserting it by way of presupposition in this article?
Yeah, well, Nathan, it looks like the lights that we saw in the sky made contact with the lights, the big light in the sky, and it says that the prominent scars from the impacts were more easily visible than the Great Red Spot itself, and persisted for many months. How can you deny this, Nathan?
Well, actually,
hold on, Paul. Just 1 second.
Now?
Just 1 second. This was just discussed. That's why I wanted to link the two together, Paul. I'm really sorry. So you say scarred in this claim to be second law of thermodynamics violation, gas giant in a vacuum, but it's got weather patterns next to the vacuum that are now getting scarred. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okie dokie.
Alrighty then.
Well, here's what all I was going to say is I will validate that I observed through a telescope during that event. I saw lights traversing through the sky, and it seemed like it was hitting, or at least heading in the direction of Jupiter. I never saw the actual impact, and I did actually see. I'm not saying impact because that's the rhetoric they're saying, and I did see what it looked like dark spots on Jupiter. So I can validate the observation. I just can't validate the explanation of the observation.
Oh, no, we're not looking for an explanation. We would like a cause of the scarring in the weather patterns of the thermodynamic violation that is Jupiter. So, what caused the scars? Now, according to the presupposition in this article, it's an impact, correct?
Yeah, of course.
Well, I know you're saying, yeah, of course, in a high-pitched tone, Anthony, but no. We would need to validate that cause, wouldn't we?
Yeah, well, we can observe it, Nathan, and we can calculate it. So if we can calculate it, it must be true.
No. We're dealing with the physical and natural world, and these lights in the sky are part of our physical and natural world. So I'm more than happy to say that we've so far got step 1 of the scientific method pegged. We are observing phenomena here. Would we all agree?
Yep.
Yes.
I actually observed that phenomenon. So yeah.
Perfect.
Sorry.
So Paul has observed the phenomenon of lights in the sky interacting with one another. So what's step 2?
Shut up and calculate.
Formulate a hypothesis.
Not formulate, not calculate. No, wrong.
Formulate a hypothesis.
Yeah, perfect. So we've already got half of the hypothesis, haven't we? We've already got the dependent variable. We've got the phenomena. That's our effect, the dependent variable. So there's half the hypothesis. So what's the other half that we need?
Cause. Independent variable.
Perfect. So we need a presumed cause of this effect. So what is it we're presuming, or what is it this article's presuming is the cause now? Did it say, what was the word you highlighted first, Anthony?
Apparently impact.
Impact.
Collided.
A collision. So it's saying they collided. That's what the cause is. The two things interacted physically. A physical collision. They collided. Well, if that's our presumed cause, definitely not valid at this stage, how would we validate a hypothesis?
I know. I'll wear a white coat and I'll tell everyone it's science, and that makes it science.
No, that's not how you validate a hypothesis. Well, let's just add one extra step, and it makes it clear why science is empirical. A hypothesis, otherwise known as scientific prediction, doesn't just have one side. So far, we've got what we would call an alternative hypothesis. If impact, then scarring, right? Albeit very simplistically. We're not going to detail controls. Anyway, you'd also have a null hypothesis, which is if impact, or collision, whatever you want to use, whatever word, if physical interaction, not scarring. So, at this stage, we've got a mirror of the affirmative claim with a presumed cause of physical interaction. And we've got our effect. We've also got the mirror of that, which is the null. If physical interaction, no scarring being the outcome. So, one or other will be confirmed when we go on to the next step. So, what's the next step in the scientific method?
Systematic.
Experimentation. So, okay. So it's the actualization of the hypothesis. So how would we actualize this hypothesis? How would we vary and manipulate that which we assume at this stage caused the effect? In this case, we've got a presumed cause of physical interaction. How are we going to vary and manipulate the physical interaction with Jupiter?
Nathan, you're being unreasonable. Nobody can get out and alter asteroids and comets that are going to impact planets. Don't be silly.
Then it isn't science.
What?
Then it is not science.
Nathan. It's astronomy, Nathan. Of course it's science.
No.
When do we calculate, though?
We don't. We don't do anything. We're supposed to be... No one's answered me. How are we going to physically manipulate the physical interaction with Jupiter?
We don't have to physically manipulate it.
I guess you gotta wait.
Just observe it.
No, we have to physically manipulate it to confirm or validate. And because we've got a null, we have the or invalidate our presumed cause of the effect. If a physical interaction is our presumed... Because this hypothesis is worthless without the actual actualization of the hypothesis. if we don't actualize our presumed cause, it remains a presumption. Well, that's not satisfactory. We want to validate this presumption as being correct or incorrect. Now, the empiricism is given when we perform the experimentation. We vary and manipulate the thing we assume caused the effect, and if it does cause the effect, we have a valid hypothesis, confirmed by experimentation. If it doesn't cause the effect, then we have an invalid, a confirmation of the null. Empirically valid, not causing the effect or causing the effect, one or the other. Only one or the other. Empirical. But to just move forward and say, I assume it, and I'm not going to validate it, that's pseudoscience.
Well, Nathan, your definition is too narrow. It's too narrow.
Nathan, this is a natural experiment. See, look, in Wikipedia, it says, a natural experiment is an empirical study in which individuals are exposed to the experimental and control conditions that are determined by nature and other factors outside the control of the investigators. This is an experiment, Nathan.
Oh, really? Go ahead and share my screen. Tell me when it's up.
It is up.
Natural experiments from Wiki, their alma mater, are a different type of quasi-experiment design used by researchers. It differs from person by treatment in a way that there is not a variable that is being manipulated by the experimenter. So let's take a look at this word. What does quasi mean?
John, you weren't supposed to read quasi.
From Oxford Dictionaries, quasi, seemingly, apparently, but not really. Synonyms for quasi: pseudo, not real or genuine; sham, spurious. 1 second, please.
Nathan,
from Craig P. Using
John.
natural. I'm not done yet.
No rumpusing, please, Anthony.
From Craig P., the Journal of Epidemiology and Community Health. The term natural experiment lacks an exact definition, and many variants are found in the literature. The common thread in most definition is that exposure to the event or intervention of interest has not been manipulated by the researcher. That means no viable independent variables, means no experiment. If you're unsure of that, let's roll on up to what an experiment is. The three constituent parts of an experiment: dependent, independent, and controlled, from Penn State. From the Institute of Physics, what are the variables in an experiment? Independent, dependent, and control variables. It's not looking good for your natural experiment so far. In fact, they're dead. Any questions?
Yeah, I just want the audience to notice that when you were doing that and I started to rumpus, that's just what rumpus does and what all of them do when they start losing. And then I stopped and then I lost.
Yeah, but they wouldn't have stopped.
And they won't.
That's the point.
Thanks. Prosecution rests.
But you're
Nathan.
I'm sorry.
Hang on. I got a request out of chat from Mason B. Tell Nathan, can you please fix the side chat on the left side of the screen? It's a little annoying not seeing the live chat there.
Oh, is it not working? That's frustrating. Yeah, no worries. I'll be on it in a moment. Thank you for letting me know, Mason B.
Oh, and by the way, whilst we've got like 10, 15 minutes left, go over to my channel in the next 10, 15 minutes and watch the premiere that's coming on. If those of you that are out there that are curious as to whether Trish Blythe is actually a barrister, I'm going to demonstrate and prove that she cannot possibly be a barrister. So if you're curious, go and check it out. Oh, and she inadvertently debunks Miles the Liar Davis. And there is one other thing that's really interesting, and I can't actually remember what it is now, but check it out. It's really, really going to be good.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
Are we done housekeeping?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, all I was going to say is your guys' definition is just too narrow. I'm sorry, guys. It's just too narrow.
Yeah, to be empirical, you have got to be particularly narrow. Science is narrow. It is very specific.
But, I mean, it sounds, from the sounds of it, it seems like we have to vary and manipulate the independent variable?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Really?
We can just observe it.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, naming things is science, right? I mean, Brenda told me that. Should I not trust her?
No,
We
Brenda.
don't have to manipulate it. We don't have to manipulate it. We can just observe it, right? And even if you show me 10 citations that prove that I'm wrong, I'm still going to assert that you can just observe it because I don't want to admit that you've got to manipulate it in an experiment. So it doesn't matter what you say. I'm still going to deny it.
You're a science denier, Anthony.
10 times.
No, all they do is substitute math equations for the independent variable.
I was really I was going to give kudos to you and John for that little bit of role play and the explanation thereafter, Anthony. So yeah, exactly. At the point that the devastating point or conclusion of the devastating point arrives, they'll talk through it. They'll make sure it doesn't reach the audience. They'll rumpus the living crap out of it, which is what Anthony did when in character. Yeah, he shut up immediately, so the point got made nice and concisely, but also with a handy demonstration of their only tactic at the moment. Their only tactic is to make sure you're not heard. Use the fundy globehead mute button, which is to say they'll talk through the devastating conclusion.
That's what happens when you're. Oh Jesus, I forgot the word. Give me a second.
On the spot forgetfulness fallacy?
Yeah. That's false.
I've just remembered what the other point was on my premiere. Gem Panda gets made to look like a right dick.
What, for the 10,000th time? I mean, you just keep clobbering this guy over the head. Does it ever reach an end point where you just ignore him?
I've ignored him for 18 months, man. I've not even seen him around for like that the longest of times. And then I saw that he'd done a hate video again, and I was like, "Oh, we're back around to the hate again, are we?" I've not watched it, but I've heard it's really good. So go and check out his video, and then come to my channel and watch my video instead that debunks everything that he says.
Can you spam your link? We're going to stay live for another 10 minutes or so, but obviously your show is starting in 12 minutes. When this live show ends, if you're watching on Nathan Oakley, obviously ignore all this if you're watching on Nathan Oakley 1980. But yeah, after the live show ends, go and check out Sleeping Warrior channel and his premiere. So I heard Trish Blythe's name. What's her involvement in this?
Basically, Spurs Chemo asked her the other day whether she was a barrister or not, and she confirmed that she was actually a barrister, right? Well, the key point for a barrister is that they pay particular attention to the semantical meaning, the minutiae, the intrinsic, pure meaning of words. And when someone claims to be a barrister, I don't expect them to misrepresent what I say, which is what she does, and I've demonstrated it. So, for example, if I say the sky is blue, I do not expect a barrister to then recite my words to say that the sky was red, because I didn't say that. I said the sky was blue, and I would expect you to recite my words the way I said them. Trish Blythe doesn't do that, and a barrister wouldn't do that. Trish Blythe changes what I said and then claims that I don't understand what's going on. It's completely false. So what I'll be doing is playing the clips that Trish Blythe says, then showing the bits that I actually said, and then showing that Trish Blythe is misrepresenting what I said and then claiming that I don't know what I'm talking about. Is that the conduct of a barrister? Is it balls?
Yeah, but Anthony, it could be another viewpoint. You know that, right?
But that's not what she's not doing that though. She's not expressing her personal opinion. She's giving legal advice as a barrister at that point. She's arguing that I don't know what I'm talking about. But guess what happens? She gets absolutely destroyed.
Well, it could be that you just embarrassed her.
Professionally embarrassed her, yeah.
Thank you. That just went over your head, Anthony.
I got that. That was funny.
Embarrassed, brother.
Embarrassed? I've missed it. What have I missed?
Barrister.
Oh, that's really good, 10th man.
10th man, it comes quick.
Embarrassed her. Yeah, that's brilliant. Well done.
Trish Blythe, you're embarrassed her.
Yeah, so make sure you check it out. It's really good. You have to pay attention to it. So if you're in chat, follow it along because it's a story. It's like a storybook. And at the end of it, I conclude 3 points altogether. It's one stone killing 3 birds. Miles the Lie Davis, Gem Panda 2012, and Trish the Barrister Blythe.
So you're going to spam the link in the chat?
I have done. Haven't I?
Okay. I didn't see it go by. That's in about 10 minutes, just under.
It should be in the thingy now. Can you see it?
Yeah, I do. I see it now, yes. Well done.
Yay. Yeah, it starts in 9 minutes. It's like the countdown timer for the launch at Cape Canaveral, if that's where they still do it from.
My English is back, so I can now say that science deniers like Brenda and the Rumpus, when they're going devastated and they're depressed, they're in deep despair, they'll try to obfuscate and Rumpus so the audience will not hear the argument.
Yeah, that's what happens. Start over speaking, and once they sense that one of the flat earthers has got one of the ball earther friends cornered, they then immediately speak over you to stop that conversation getting addressed.
Yeah, that's because they're science deniers, and that's the only option they have.
Yeah. They're not science deniers. They don't know what science is to deny it.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
hey, John,
science believers.
Nathan, I need a complaint form.
For what?
I need to submit a complaint that John kicked somebody, even though it was Chris, and he was doing whatever he was doing to justify being kicked. I think it's unfair that Chris gets kicked when he wasn't swearing, he wasn't being rude, he was just being dumb.
That's not my department. That's Betty's department, fortunately.
Ah.
Terminator doesn't care.
You can't reason with it. It can't be bargained with. And it absolutely will not stop.
Justice for Chris.
Exactly.
Send it to the embarrasser.
Oh yeah, that was good.
That's great.
That was really.
I thought Trish was all right.
She is, but she's just not a barrister. What she is, in my opinion, she's an experienced, like 10-year, like veteran paralegal. She spent all of her time in an office law firm doing officey things, but she can't do the legal research. I heard Spurs told me that she researched the education law that she said that I was wrong on Google. Well, that's not what barristers do. They've got subscriptions, and they go onto the legal database and they find very narrow, like precise versions of law, which is exactly what I did, which is what I demonstrate in this Hangout. It's really good. You'll learn stuff if you go in there. You'll see how they use the legal databases that Gem Panda claims that all I did was life. What did he say? He said something like life for money or something like that. He described it as.
Yeah, he made out that essentially you'd implied that without funding you couldn't get on the course to put your course the requirements for the course to be satisfied so that you could get your paper into the education system and reviewed based on its legal particulars, because that's the specialist area that you're in. And he was saying, no, you could have just, and I think he's misrepresenting what you're trying to achieve here, because he's saying you could have got the information in regards to the heliocentric and Copernican model into all of the areas that you said you were trying to go into just by using Google. And your defense presumably is, well, no, you couldn't, because you can't get the information just from Googling it.
Yeah, you need to know it's there. If I tell you that there's something to go and find, then you know that it's there to go and find, right? But if you don't actually know it's there and you have to research it in a different way because it probably doesn't exist. Because do you remember, Nathan, in the Hangout, I said to you, I'm hoping that I'll find some old antiquated law that was like 1896 or something like that. And it was 1996, but I didn't know it was that recent. But nonetheless, it was very narrow. But it's exactly what we're talking about. Now, to know that exists in the first place makes it easy to find. But I didn't know that it existed. I needed that access to be able to locate it. And then, what do you know? I located it. And then we have the conversation. And that's why there is the valid debate to be had. My assertion is that the teaching of the heliocentric model is promoted as partisan political indoctrination. That's what it is.
Okay, so just to give an update to my audience in this regard. So from what I gathered, obviously I'm subscribed to Sleeping Warrior. Subscribe today. His link's been going by. If you're not already subscribed, do so. And if I'm watching this with you on Nathan Oakley 1980, I'll also spam the link to this show that we're talking about. But to give a bit of background, you've challenged, correct me if I'm wrong, Gempanda to go out and find initially a piece of legislation in regards to the safety warnings that would come on saddles, and he declined. So he then reset a new challenge in regards to the legislation in regards to honey. Can you give us a bit more detail? And then we've got about 5 minutes, and then I'll round out this live show.
Yeah, so, give me 15 seconds before you go.
No problem. Go ahead, Anthony.
So the first one was a bit harsh because it was blind, and although everyone sees those stupid stickers that like warning stickers that are like unnecessary, there's a reason why they're there on a lot of products that you buy, and it's because there's this little stupid piece of legislation that says you've got to put these signs up. Now the reality is we all know that we don't really need them. It's for the dumb people in society, right? But I asked him, could he go and find where that legislation comes from? And to be fair on him, right, that's really narrow and it's really hard to do when even if you know it's there, it's hard to relate to. So what I did was I went into the databases and I searched for something that gave me a different result than what you do when you search for it on Google. And that's all I did. So and I knew that everybody had they'd go to Google and type in honey law UK. And I knew they'd come back with something different, which was the point. Because if all you're going to do is Google it, and you don't get the information that I'm asking for, then you fail. It makes my point for me that I do need access to the database to do what I did, and therefore disprove Jeremy's claim that I was, quote, bullshitting for cash, unquote. So, and that was basically it.
Yeah, I mean, I bit, just because I kind of understand your psychology to a certain extent, so intentionally I bit, and I was like, right, I'll just do what I think he's leading me to do. Google search it, see what I get. And it didn't take long. It was like 2 links with precisely what you said as the search term, and then I think in an article I found a link directly underneath to the legislation, which I posted to you in Skype and was like, it can't be this easy, and you were like, nope.
Yep. And obviously that's the thing, like if you know that there's something there for you to find, then it makes it quite straightforward to look for it, regardless of whether you get the right answer or not. You already know that it's there. I didn't know it was there. I was hoping it'd be there. Common sense tells me it might be there, but also the nuances of law might not. Nobody might have. It may not have been the case that anybody anticipated that this might actually be legitimately challenged at some point. But thankfully, there's been a parliamentary draftsman that has done that at some point, and it's in the legislation. I just didn't know where it was, and I couldn't find it. It's a needle in a haystack unless you know where it is. But then I found out where it was, and then Jeremy goes, oh, yeah, it's dead easy. That all you do is type in Section 406 of the Education Act, and there it is. Yeah, that's when you know that the answer's there. But if you don't know the answer's there, you've got to find it. And you can't find it by looking through every piece of legislation and looking through every single section, because you're never going to find it. You've got to look in a different way. And that's the bit that Jeremy's a little bit ignorant on and called on, saying that it was, what did he say? Bullshitting for cash. But I just demonstrate that there's more to it than just Googling it.
Well, it's looking for an angle. So to have that database, I don't know which one you use, LexisNexis or whatever, but whichever one you're using, you're not saying, as Gempanda's implying, that you just go to Section 406 of the Education Act. You didn't even know what angle you were looking for. So yes, it ended up being an angle regarding partisan political views and indoctrination, but you didn't know that was your angle until you started searching it in the LexisNexis database, which has got a completely different set of search parameters. Yes, some of the data is already published on Google, but you're never going to type in to a Google search, what would be my angle if I wanted to argue in law that children are being indoctrinated with the Copernican model? You're going to find your way to subsection 406 with that? I think not.
Yeah, exactly. Do you want the whole point?
Do you want your 15 seconds, and then I'll round out this live show? Just before you do take your few seconds, Quantum Eraser, as this is going on and the live show rounds out, can you spam your link again to the show, which is starting in 1 minute?
Yes.
Go ahead, Quantum Eraser.
Yeah, I don't want the point to be lost about astronomy not having anything whatsoever to do with science. So we want one professional astronomer. We don't want these knuckle draggers that think they're looking through a telescope as astronomy. We want one professional astronomer to give us a single viable scientific hypothesis in the entire history of astronomy. Now, I will accept this. If these friggin' knuckle draggers go and contact an astronomer and ask him the question and he sends it back, the answer back to them, I'll accept that. We need his name and his contact information also. So let me make this clear. We want one viable scientific hypothesis in the entire history of astronomy. Stay tuned, folks. This is going to be fun. Thanks.
And with that, I'll say if you're watching this live on the Nathan Oakley stream, then go to the chat and go to the link that's just been spammed by Sleeping Warrior to his premiering stream and continue the chat there. However, if you're watching this on Nathan Oakley 1980, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. A massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of you who did tune in live on the Nathan Oakley live stream. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. As I say, stay tuned if you're watching on Nathan Oakley 1980. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Come in with the math like you were asking. When is the math coming in?
Absolutely perfect timing for your show, Anthony, because it's, again, this isn't relevant to the people watching and listening to this conversation, but for the people who are in the live stream, there's about 30 seconds left and the countdown on your premiere will be over and they'll actually be into the show. But it's rolling with a chat and a countdown when this show ended, so hopefully you'll get a decent audience. Buggered off. He's buggered off.
Right off.
Yeah, he's buggered off to his own chat. Oh, thanks,
Yeah,
Nathan.
I'm not watching it. I'm not watching it.
I'll watch it later.
Yeah,
bugger.
heck with that. He
Suppose
said
has
he was
got
going to mirror a video of mine like 5 or 6 times, and he has yet to do it. Yeah, I'm going to do it right now. Yeah, I'll get to it right now, John. Yeah, the whole week stringing me along. I'm not watching it.
Which video is he supposed to mirror?
He's lucky he wasn't in Discord. I'd have kicked him.
What was the video he's supposed to have mirrored?
The one that we did, and ironically, it has him in it with vaporizing Jose, retard, Sean Stuffblurred, and the other McGoogle or whatever his name is.
Yeah, I know the show.
Yeah.
Who's typing?
I don't know.
Right. Ben?
That's usually Riley, right? Typing?
Yes.
Whatever happens, don't mention that you want to talk to me afterwards, Kiwi.
Hey, Nathan, I'd like 15 seconds before you...
I'm not going to do anything. We've got I've got plenty of time, probably about an hour of after show. Go ahead.
Yeah. It was interesting in Discord yesterday, seeing how they function. They won't come on your show anymore. Their arguments got beaten over 20 times over on your show. So they go to Discord, and Zanuck, being the alpha male that he is, takes over the whole Discord, and he's got his beta males in reserve. And I was listening yesterday for the first time in Discord after. It was just, by luck, I guess. I saw it happening, and I'm saying, this guy has the gall to even come on and say what he's saying now. So I got on Discord for the first time ever, meaning after your show ends, and just rumpused him after I challenged him to answer the questions he never answered properly when he was on your show. I just was rumpusing him the way he rumpuses everybody else. And the Discord crowd says, hey, 10th man, your trigger, slow down. Let's have a conversation. And I said, what conversation? This guy won't concede. He's here like a wolf in a chicken pen. And how you guys put up with this guy? I mean, it's nonsense. Eventually, you got to knock this guy out.
What was the thing you wouldn't concede on?
He says that himself.
Gas pressure.
Couldn't hear you, Nathan. Couldn't hear you, Nathan. As soon as Chocolate opens his mic, he completely overwhelms you.
What was the argument about? What was it?
it was gas pressure without a container and Earth-based Coriolis, the causes. And I asked him those direct questions, and he went back to his repertoire of lies. And I said, no, we already beat you on that. You got to come up with something new. You got to come with something valid. There's no citations you're giving. You're just giving your opinion. The gas law doesn't work that way. I mean, he just would deny everything like he always does.
Well, then he's waiting for a reply in the forum.
He's what?
He's waiting for a reply in the forums.
Reply in the forums?
Yes, Zanuck.
I don't...
He's waiting to be updated from his sources in the forums.
Oh, I got
so that
you.
he can give you the answer.
The physics forums. Got it, yeah.
Yeah, he's waiting for that new batch of information. Reload. I'm running out of bullshit.
Right. So you can't have gas pressure without a container, and they assert that the sky is an open system that is a vacuum. So their outer space is fake.
Yeah, and I said, just demonstrate it once. Just demonstrate your claim, and he wouldn't. And so I said, then I just rumpused them because I said, you're a liar. You're making things up, and you just come here to obfuscate. And I personally am addressing my next statement to Discord. I'm going to address my next statement to Discord.
That's not how any of us saw this interaction, 10th man.
Excuse me. I'm in the middle of talking here, whoever you are.
The person you're talking about.
Oh my gosh. Who is this guy? Can you wait till I'm done, please?
Speaking about. 10th man. You don't like
who's this interrupting me?
It's Zanuck.
Oh, well, of course. He's rumpusing me while I'm making a point.
As you did to me yesterday.
Yeah,
he's rumpusing. Wait a second. He's rumpusing you, and you're talking about rumpusing him yesterday.
Him.
That's great.
Yeah, I gave him some of his own medicine yesterday. He doesn't like it. And all he does is come here. Yeah, all you do is come here like a sneak thief to put in your lies. And when addressed with a good conversation, you can't take it. You won't concede. You can't demonstrate your claims. We're done with you.
I said I talked to you. You wouldn't speak to me because you just ran over me. Rumpus the hell out of the conversation. There was no conversation. You asked the questions, I had the answers. What was wrong with that?
Okay, so how can you have gas pressure without a container?
The air has weight. Air interacts with itself. It doesn't need a container to stay on the surface.
Question. Answer the friggin' question.
I'll take it.
How do you have gas pressure without a container?
Demonstrate.
We didn't ask you whether air had weight or not. Answer the damn question.
The air molecules have momentum. They bounce off each other, creating pressure. You don't need a container. All you need to have is molecules with momentum.
So what would be the measurement then?
You get a measurement in increments of pounds per square inch.
Square inch of what?
Pressure on any surface area perpendicular to that surface. It's a scalar quantity.
You've already contradicted yourself because you're saying it's pressing on itself, the molecules, and then you're saying it's perpendicular to a surface. Well, itself isn't. I'm talking, Sonic. Itself isn't an adjacent surface, is it?
Both. A surface is there. It doesn't need a surface. It can be a surface or it doesn't have a surface. It doesn't need a surface.
Sorry, you just said that it's the force on a surface, and you quantified it per inch. So it's a per inch value of a surface, and now you're saying it doesn't need a surface.
It needs one surface, the one that is perpendicular to that force due to gravity.
So it's still a surface.
So it needs a surface to press on.
Of course. It has to be able to accumulate. It has to be able to press on a surface. It doesn't need to be a container. It just needs to be one direction.
No worries.
In response to the force of gravity.
No, I don't want you to assert that it doesn't need a container. I've got a further question, Zanik.
Can I finish the sentence? Can I finish the sentence? So you have the ground, the surface of the earth. That is the surface. All the weight accumulates like water in a pool, and then amongst the air, they are hitting each other, creating pressure. There's no container needed.
Okay.
I don't know why this is so hard to understand.
I've just got a couple of questions. So can you define the properties of gas? Gas nature. What does gas do by nature?
Okay. You want me to define the properties of gas?
Yes, please.
Gases can expand. Gases can contract depending on its temperature.
Okay. So expand.
Yes.
Would that be expand in one direction, down towards this single surface, or in all directions? What does the term expansion mean?
With no forces acting on gas, it'll expand in all directions.
So,
but the forces
that's not what I asked. So, sorry, I didn't ask that. I didn't ask what it won't do without a force. That's not what I asked. I asked what expansion means. We're defining what gas does. Expands, you say?
If you have no forces.
Sorry.
An ideal gas can expand in all directions, correct. But the force, due to its weight, will skew those forces in one direction. They'll still be moving.
He broke up at the end.
Correct.
Does that make sense or not?
Citation.
So that's why gas can actually have.
You're being asked for a citation by the one. So do you have a citation? My concern though, Zanik, is that we're defining gas properties and you're saying it expands in all directions.
Yes.
So, according to a NASA citation that we showed you yesterday, it would be a force on the walls of a container. And the reason it's defined that way is because gas would expand in all directions. An expansion, as you described it. So it's not just down, it's also in all directions.
No, it's not just down, it's all directions, correct. But it's mostly down if there is a force involved.
Regardless, so gas by its nature expands in all directions, and the pressure is the force it exerts on an adjacent wall, if you will.
Molecule or surface down.
A surface.
You have a well, if there's no ground, if there's no surface of the earth, there would be no pressure.
Not surface of the ground. We're not there yet. We're talking about the sky, specifically about the sky. Now, we're at this stage where we understand that gas expands in all directions and not just down, and we're asking how we can have gas pressure without a container.
And I told you, if you have a force, you do not need a container. It's specifically said in gas theory, in gas law, in molecular properties of matter, when you talk about gases, this is something that's known to everybody who studies it.
State the gas law.
We're also waiting for a citation in this regards to this force acting upon gas. Can you cite that as well, please?
Hey, Mr. Citation of all things good in the internet.
State the gas law right now.
PVNRT.
State the gas law or you go on mute.
I said PVNRT.
Okay, define the.
Did you hear what he said?
No, I didn't hear it.
He said define the V. Victor.
Volume.
Oh, volume? Volume
Yeah.
of what?
Of the gas.
No.
Volume of the container.
Oh, so in gas law, we have the volume of a container.
Correct.
So, according to gas law, without the container, there can be no pressure.
According to the gas law,
without the container, there can be no pressure. It's calculable using that V. The V being volume, and the volume being the container.
Right.
Right. So my question at the start of this, Zanik, was how can you have gas pressure without a container? And you gave us some word salad without citation.
So when you talk about theoretical and experimental physics, there are laws. These laws use these equations, and they're for optimal and ideal situations. So in order for you to understand the relationship between how gas behaves, they use a container. Yes, it doesn't mean or preclude gases from having a pressure without a container.
Okay.
It just
Hold on. That's at this stage, Zanik. Sorry, Zanik. At this stage, Zanik, you seem triggered. Is it because you can sense the demolition coming? You've made what I would call at this stage, Zanik, I'd like you to just listen to my response. I'll let you get all of your triggered emotion out because you can sense the end coming. Go ahead. Now I'm going to take this.
Are you going to let me speak or not?
I left a long pause. You didn't speak, so I assumed that was actually my point to actually start making the summary I was going to, but you couldn't stop interrupting. Go ahead, get all of your interruptions out now. Then I will demolish your assertion that you don't need a container, regardless of the fact that an ideal gas law doesn't necessarily, according to you, apply in this scenario, and you don't need a container. What I was going to summarise by saying is please give us a demonstration of gas pressure without a container rather than your baseless assertion. Can you demonstrate that baseless assertion you've just made, that you don't necessarily need a container, beyond your fundamentalist religious belief in a sky vacuum? Can you demonstrate this? I hadn't quite finished. I knew you'd interrupt because the end is nigh. This would be the point where you either demonstrate your religious belief in a sky vacuum, or point to your religious sky vacuum belief as the proof, or concede you cannot demonstrate gas pressure without a container. There's only three choices. Let's see which he picks.
Okay. So we have gas pressure without a container. You walk outside and
that's a religious choice number 2. So he pointed to his sky vacuum belief as the proof of his sky vacuum belief. That would be circular reasoning. So he picked option number 2. Don't rumpus me in my own panel. He picked option number 2. Use circular reasoning. Say go outside and point at the sky because it is a vacuum, therefore it is a vacuum. That would be circular reasoning, choice number 2. Let's see if he picks one of the other 2 choices.
It's excuse me.
How is
That's
it
also a special pleading fallacy.
Special pleading fallacy, correct.
You can measure 14.7 psi out there in the air, right outside your house. Then you go up 100,000 feet and see 0.16 psi, showing that there's a pressure gradient.
Showing that there's pressure at that height. So far we've proved we've got gas pressure, and we're asking for proof of gas pressure without a container because the heliocentric model has the Earth with gas attached in a vacuum without containment. So we don't need you to prove that there is gas pressure at 100,000 feet because that's proving that there is gas pressure. And without the container, there can be no pressure. We have a baseless assertion from you that you don't necessarily need a container. We're asking you to prove that baseless assertion, and you've used circular reasoning and pointed at your fundy sky vacuum that doesn't exist because it's a violation of the second law of thermodynamics, Zanik.
Why is it the third law or second law of thermodynamics?
Second law of thermodynamics violation. Entropy would increase and the gas would fill the available volume. The available volume, the V in the gas law you gave us, that V would be all of outer space. And the V in this instance would be rapidly filled by the gas we're breathing. Well, we wouldn't be breathing it, because the V in that gas law would be all of outer space and we wouldn't have any gas. The gas would fill the available volume.
You cannot have gas in a container and have a pressure gradient.
Yes, you can. It's been demonstrated by two people, one on each side of this argument. Hillbilly Blue Balls on your side of the argument, and Zachary, good man. Good times for all. Zachary Zabala have both demonstrated gas pressure gradients in containers.
I'll give you a citation for that.
I've just given it you. You can go and check it out on their channel. Good Times for All. GUDTIMS number 4ALL. And I think he's called Blue Marble Science, a contradiction in terms. We fondly call him Hillbilly Blue Balls. Both demonstrated gas pressure gradients inside containers. In the case of Hillbilly Blue Balls, he had atmospheric pressure at the top and butane pressure at the bottom of his container. Zachary Zabala managed to manipulate his gas with heat, giving a pressure gradient lower at the top than it was at the bottom. Both have demonstrated this visually.
If you have a pressure gradient, you need to have a force. You need to have a...
No, you need a container. This force horse shit has still not been cited by you. Your baseless assertion hasn't had any cowbell, and you continue to make your baseless assertion with special pleading by pointing at the sky.
No special pleading whatsoever.
You said go outside, look at the sky. You've got a sky vacuum because I say it's a sky vacuum. That's special pleading and circular reasoning.
Why do you think you need a container?
Without the container, there can be no pressure. It's part of gas law. It's the V! It's the V! You're just going to talk through it? Anthony was right, so I'm giving him the demonstrate. Hello?
Come on.
Hello?
Be real.
You don't want to hear the devastating rebuttal, so you're going to rumpus the shit out of it. You've asked a question, and as Anthony demonstrated on the live show, you will talk through the rebuttal because it devastates your claim. It's oh, it started again. I'll get to the end eventually. I don't mind if it takes 25 attempts with a triggered fundy called Zanuck. It's the V. The V volume of what? A container? And all you did was point at the... I hadn't finished, Zanuck. Zanuck, all you're doing at the moment, because we're winning, is demonstrating that when we give these devastating argument rebuttals to your shit claims, all you can do is talk through them. It's telling to the audience now, it's not helping your cause, it's hindering it. It's showing the audience just how badly you're getting beaten, because you can't let the reply through. It must be stopped.
Go ahead, knock yourself out.
You don't need to give me permission, you need to shut your mouth. But you won't, and it's telling to the audience. While you're giving me permission to talk, I'm pointing out that your interruptions are telling. They're not helping your cause by stopping the eventual delivery of that V. Yeah? The V, the volume. That's what proves it. Are you going to address that V? Or are you going to remove it from gas law to meet your fundamentalist religious needs of a sky vacuum that doesn't have volume containing the gas?
When studying the gas and understanding the theories, they have a container to use in this ideal condition.
No, it's not a theory, it's a law. Laws aren't the result of scientific theory. This tells me, Zanuck, that at a base level you simply do not understand what science actually is. Scientific laws aren't a result of the processes of the scientific method, and one of those, or multiples thereof, would result in scientific theory. You've just asserted this law is a result of theory. It isn't. This just tells me you don't understand what science is.
I actually do.
Yeah,
You're
you
laughing
actually
at
don't.
me.
You mean the physics forms understand what science is?
Yeah,
you
this
don't.
Dipshit. Listen up, Zanuck, you stupid fundy zealot. Listen to me, Zanuck, you fundy zealot idiot. Scientific laws, otherwise known as natural laws, do not come as a result of an adherence to the scientific method. Once you have applied the scientific method, that would be systematic experimentation, you can form scientific theories. Your incorrect declaration that this law has come from theory simply demonstrates that you do not understand what science is.
And I'm trying to explain to you that you're right. The ideal gas law does not apply to all conditions. It is a way to use this experimental theory and law to understand how gas...
Dipshit. It's not experimental. That's the 4th time I've said it, you stupid fundy idiot.
Are there any ideal gases?
Excuse me. Don't whistle past me pointing out your ignorance and stupidity. It is not based on experiment for the 4th time.
Why don't you tell me how having gas pressure next to a vacuum violates the law of the second law of thermodynamics and entropy?
Dead 5,000 times for the past 3 months, you moron. How many times you got to do it?
Entropy.
Yeah, the gas
You're
would fill the
clown.
space.
Go back to your physical. You know, in fact,
you can't. You know.
That's the best thing that's happened so far.
But he's asked, so I'll do it. How does it violate the second law of thermodynamics? Entropy would want to increase. The gas would want to fill the available volume, that V that you described, the volume of the container. Now, even though in the nonsense rhetoric of the heliocentric model, even their vacuum is containerless, it's still classified with a volume that you can calculate, and that would be the space the gas we breathe would want to fill, because entropy would want to increase. The gas would want to fill the space. It wouldn't suddenly stop at some arbitrary location called the Kármán line because you've decided that's where your religion of a sky vacuum contains the gas. It's a preposterous assertion that flies in the face of natural law.
Ask Zanik about containers and thermoses. That's where it failed last time, open and closed systems.
I think John shut him up.
From the entropysite.edu, gas expansion into a vacuum, the mixing of ideal gases or liquids, diffusion, effusion, colligative effects, and osmosis. Each fundamentally involves an increase in entropy due to increased dispersion of energy with no change in total energy in the case of ideal substances due to a greater number of microstates for the particular system involved. It's over. Have a nice day.
Nathan, can you share Paul's screen at all? Or Paul,
sure.
Is that you, Sean?
Ah, very nice.
Another science denier.
So the pump was going, all this gas went in. Now I believe that top handle will move and open up and see what happens. The pressure's building up. At the bottom, there was a heat applied as well.
Oh, there it goes.
Voila.
Look at that.
And
this is
watching Zanik's hopes to win this argument.
float away into the gas vacuum. Yeah, this is what would happen to the air if the sky was a vacuum. The gas we're all breathing would do this. It would all go. It would leave. And we'd have no gas to breathe because the sky vacuum would be the volume available for that gas to fill. And without any time at all elapsing, we'd all be choking like Arnie in... I can never remember the name of that film.
Total Recall.
Total Recall. That's us right now, if the sky was a vacuum.
On a presupposed floating planet, not in space, Mars.
I'm here for 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah, I was, okay.
2 weeks.
Well, I couldn't. Of course, she decides to scream and yell. I was taking care of Lily when I couldn't come to the mic, but yeah, this is them saying that you guys are talking.
That's lovely. Thank you very much.
She's trying to turn into a Super Saiyan back
Do you
there,
want to
bro.
pop yourself on?
I think that's Zanuck in the background screaming after he saw this.
Now I put him on mute. Now listen, I had enough. That was kind of selfish of me. Just say the word and you can continue.
I'll take him off mute. I've got no issue.
Go ahead. I've just had it. I had my limit.
Well, and also this GIF is from Colorado.edu too, so it's probably from a university as well.
Where is this video? We put in the chat? Paul?
Was that Lily?
He's on mute.
I can drop the link.
I got
Sonic,
it.
I already dropped it in there.
Right, just forwarded it. Thanks. So Quantum Racer actually gave one definition of entropy, and he still seems to fail to recognize that entropy is actually a measure of the unusable energy in a system, and it's a result of these processes of diffusion, effusion, osmosis. These are all processes. At the end of those processes, yes, there will be a change in entropy. There's nothing saying in the law of entropy, which is not, there's laws of conservation don't apply to entropy, by the way, that you can have gas expand.
Yeah, I know. You thought they were, and I corrected you about 2 months ago.
Can I finish? Why are you interrupting me?
Shut the fuck up. I'm tired of your fucking mouth already. I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it.
What's the issue?
I friggin' corrected him a long time ago because he thought the second law of thermodynamics was a conservation law, and now he lectures me on the second law not being a conservation law. Get the fuck out of here. I'll tell you what. You're fucking gone. Get out of here.
This is exactly what he does.
Terminate him.
Terminated.
So
he's disingenuous. He gets corrected on something, comes back as if he is teaching it now.
He's a lying sack of shit.
Yeah, he was telling us we don't understand things. That he was that very day going to middle school physics forums to get the answers to the questions we're posing. That he's claiming we don't know the principles of the questions we're asking, but they're so troubling to him that he needs to go and put them to physics forums for middle school students.
Just in case anyone's listening out there, Zanuck, you listening? You are sight banned. When I see you, I'm just gonna ban you. Okay?
I agree with that. I agree with that 100% because he has had months and months and months to show his true colors, and they're not good. He's showing the wolf.
No, it's not our server. It's not my server.
Well, I'm not saying it's mine either. I'm just saying I agree with John here.
Can I summarize now?
Chris?
Hey,
No.
Go ahead, the one.
I want to summarize now. It's like imagine that Zanuck is gas and the second law of thermodynamics. So wherever he sees him, he's gone.
So the
Huey
total
does
energy
not like lawbreakers?
the total energy Zanuck has available to do work has just run out.
Gold.
Let him go populate 24/7 and see how long he lasts there. I'm not putting up with his shit anymore. He's a fraud. He's a liar. He's a crayon muncher. He's gone.
And a science denier.
He doesn't know what science is to deny it.
He kept claiming that natural laws are based on, first he said theory, then he said experiment. It's like he'll come and assert that again unless he's really held to account on it, and then he'll go away and then look it up, presumably ask a physics forum for middle school students about what the reality is in terms of natural laws versus scientific experimental data, and then he'll come back a week after that and tell us about it like we've not understood it from the offset and he's correcting us, which is what he's just done to Quantum Eraser.
Right. Yep. Bye-bye, lard ass.
That was a beautiful segment there, Nathan. You should hopefully toe tag him with a RIP, and just the back and forth you had with him shows that he has nothing. That was wonderful.
I'm going to throw a question out there. If ideal gases don't typically exist, right? So
No, not typically. They don't.
even if it doesn't exist in the, they don't exist. So even in the formula for something that doesn't exist, they put it in a container, right, with the V. So
you can.
Why would they not do that with something that does exist?
Okay. Did you want to answer that, QE, or can I?
Political bias.
No. It's not political bias. Do you want to cover it, or can I?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So this can be equally true for isolated systems, but ideal gases are used to give you a simplification of the law. So a general overview of how it will generally apply, and yes, there are certain nuances that will apply here that won't apply there, but to make it simple for the natural law to be explained, you give it an ideal circumstance, an ideal gas. No, there are no ideal gases. Likewise, there are no isolated systems. It's just a simplification to give you a general overview of how the law works and applies generally. So it's not that you can say, well, there's going to be a circumstances that completely violates this law because, or based on the fact that there are no ideal gases. That's ludicrous. It's just a simplification to make it understandable in general circumstances, even though you don't have an actual ideal gas.
Right. Kind of comparable to applying gravity, even though it's not a real thing.
Well, I was kind of just putting it out there for the ballers to think about. Like, they want to bring up ideal gases and then state the, Boyle's gas law, and it's like, but there's a V in there that it requires a container, a volume of something. Why would you not think that why would you think it wouldn't apply to a real gas?
Well, that's a reasonable question to their psychology, but it kind of matters not chocolate, because at that point, regardless of what they think, as you phrased it, give me a demonstration of something that violates the natural law, regardless of whether or not they declare it's an application within an isolated system, or in this case with a ideal gas. No worries, that's the gas law that we're talking about. It's got a V in it. If you're saying there's an exceptional circumstance that doesn't require a V because they think the sky is a bloody vacuum, just demonstrate it beyond their own thoughts about there being a sky vacuum, because that would be circular reasoning. And when it comes to the crunch, can you demonstrate gas pressure without a container? They can't. So it doesn't matter what they think or why they think it.
Do you see the assumption in this quote?
I'm just seeing the pattern of.
I've got you presented, Paul. Go ahead.
Do you see the assumption in this quote citation? Anybody see it?
You'll have to point it out. What?
It's called gravitational field.
Gravitational field. Yeah.
That's
absence of a gravitational field.
Where?
It's right in the middle.
Full screen.
Hence the internal. Hence, the internal energy is the same as in the absence of a gravitational field. So you've got to prove gravity first, right?
Or assume it.
Just because it's an ideal gas doesn't render null or preclude the V in the formula. Okay?
That's pretty much my point. That's what I was trying to say. Like, why would they think that it would not require a volume of a surface to press on? Even in an ideal situation, it requires it.
You've asked it twice, so I've got to answer it for them now. Well, because they believe the sky is a vacuum. Just let me answer. He's asked it twice. So because they believe the sky's a vacuum, chocolate. That's why.
I wanted to say because of gravity that's already incorporated in it and is not actually opposing the volume.
Yeah, but that's an aftermath.
I actually asked Danny
hold
this
on a
yesterday.
second. Hold on a second. Where's this? I just ran into Danny T. Danny T, come off mute, please. You better do it in less than 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good night, sir.
Terminated.
Don't forgive me. Please continue.
What happened
You know
there?
what the weird thing is, John? I've always seen you more like a Judge Dredd than a Terminator, and that's kind of ironic since they were intertwined and all that.
I am the law.
Yeah, exactly. You know, he's laying down the natural law.
I think we're seeing the Judgment Day.
I actually asked Danny this because he was talking about this gravitational thing yesterday, and I said, "Did you assume an open system or a closed system?" You know, I asked him, "Which did you assume?" And everything he started describing was an open system. I was like, "Well, if you think the system is closed, wouldn't you look for different causes if the system is closed?" And he got it quiet because all these equations are based upon they're assuming a gravitational field in an open system. So.
What? Hey, you coward! This Danny T. I'll tell you what. I'll just woodshed your dumb ass. Yeah. Could you? Sorry for an interruption. God.
Did you say woodshed or wood chip?
The woodshed is part of the Discord server, Arwin. If you're
okay,
yeah, he's got a place in there called the woodshed.
I'll have to explain that. So I'm gonna have to shame you a little bit. I'm really sorry, QE. So because of QE's propensity to ban people, the operator of the owner of the server, which is Betty, created a nice little place that you can banish people to. Rather than ban them, they get banished. So the woodshed is somewhere to be banished to.
all right, makes sense.
But then you can banish the woodshed itself into Narnia.
Should call it the closet.
The woodshed is just a concept.
So it will work for the Globers then.
Let's not reify it. There isn't an actual shed, and there is no wood. Okay.
It's not actually woodshed, but you can think of it as a woodshed.
Is there any hay in this shed?
Look, there's no hay, there's no wood, and it's not a shed, and we can't bend it.
No, I was just about to ask if there's gravity in there, so you can bend it.
But what was the design of the shed? Is it made by Amish people, or is it more modernized type design?
Shed-like.
Why are you forcing me to reify this shed?
because it's funny.
Home.
A beautiful
I don't know.
shed.
We were talking about the shed.
It's got a little kitchenette, little
Maybe-
toilet outside, outhouse.
Maybe
Perfect. Gravity, exactly 1G. It's beautiful.
Coriolis?
Coriolis
I was gonna
effect.
say,
It's
Nathan.
got its beautiful Coriolis effect.
I was going to say, Nathan, maybe
Beautiful Coriolis.
And where is it built? In what region of the world?
On the unicorn farms of Endor.
Oh. But wasn't Endor destroyed?
No. This is a concept. I keep telling you. It can be anything I like.
Yeah, but Endor was destroyed. Come on, you know this.
No. It's
Well,
now
I took the
reinvigorated.
DeLorean and went back to when it was actually still here.
Just doesn't understand
Right.
concepts. Arwen just doesn't
No,
understand.
no, that's wrong, Chocolate. You know Star Wars came out before Back to the Future.
Arwen doesn't understand
But
concepts.
if we're all bending time right now, I could just hop in my DeLorean and go where I need to go. What? So I don't know what the problem is.
But did you take into account that if you're going to be time traveling, you're going to have to like redefine space for your target area? Otherwise, you're just going to bump into open space because the Earth and the galaxy and everything turned while you were being displaced.
Yeah. That's not package. You get all of it when you time travel. It's included in the price.
Yeah, but you forget Back to the Future. You can go back and change everything. So chocolate went back and made.
How? How?
By
If you
going
jump
there and
to
changing
exactly
it.
the same location, but like 20 years ago, even, yeah, you're going to
You don't
be
understand
in outer space.
concepts. You don't understand woodshed.
You don't understand
and
concepts,
now you're
Arwin.
saying what?
Let's just summarize. So
you
the
just don't
woodshed,
understand.
the woodshed exists in the year 1845 on the moon of Endor with the unicorn farms,
Hold
and
on.
has a
I found the
kitchenette,
connection.
gravity
In
1G.
Back to the Future 2, the DeLorean, when time traveling, jumps right into a wooden shed, remember? Now I get it.
Yeah, this is
That
part of
was
that
the first
universe. In this concept, it's part of the Back to the Future universe. That's correct. But it's back
See, it
in
all
time.
ties
Though.
in together.
This concept works however we want it to. So in this concept, we've got Coriolis effect, we've got gravity, we've got unicorns, we've got Endor, we've got it set in a time long, long ago that we travelled to in the DeLorean. So that's
Don't forget the
woodshed.
conceptual woodshed.
It's a pretty good conceptual woodshed, man. Don't knock it.
Yeah.
At some point, the DeLorean's going to drive right through it.
Yeah, you can bend time in the woodshed. That's correct.
We just have to populate it with all the rovers, and then the DeLorean can go through it.
It's got the whole hotel paradox thing going on, so you can have as many rooms as you like as well in the woodshed. They all get their own kitchenette.
Oh, Brenda will be hiding well then.
Well, what if I use the DeLorean to go find Bill and Ted and use their phone booth?
Oh my God, phone booth. I totally forgot that movie.
Can't forget Bill and Ted, bro. Come on.
Seen it like a million times when I was a kid.
The reason for this nonsense is because the heliocentric world is essentially as farcical for us. Because that's all these things are. They're just a whole string of conceptual mediums and conceptual ideas and reifications of models. That's all the world that most of the Western world have as their idea of where they live. It's as farcical as us describing what we've just described as the woodshed. You know, they live in
the woodshed model.
The woodshed model, right? Yeah, but most people live in the heliocentric model, and they don't even realise they're living in a reification fallacy. That their world is not a model, and that conceptualization of how their world works based on the stars and the luminaries and their positions relative to us. That's a model, and most people don't even realise it. But when we talk about the woodshed being in a time long ago on the moons of Endor with a unicorn farm, people go, they're just being silly. It's like, well, no more silly than your reified sphere world in a vacuum flying around the sun.
With people standing antipode to my position, thousands of miles under my feet. Yeah.
Guys,
that seems legit.
Earth is obviously observably flat, and I have to go. So have a good one. See you soon.
See you later, one.
Later, bro.
Okay.
Nathan, you basically had Zanuck have to define what area and volume was, and after he did, he still contradicted himself.
Some people have a talent.
Yeah, he said the gas presses on itself, and then you're like, well, what's the V? Well, it's the volume of the container, but it doesn't need to press on a container.
Yes. Now you get it.
Oh, there was one of these.
Now I'm getting the double speak contradiction.
Finally,
There were one of
finally
these shows that you were.
This is their argument. Do you understand now, Nathan?
Yeah, I understand the double speak contradiction perfectly now, Arwin. Thanks. Go ahead, Chocolate.
I was gonna say there was one of these after shows where we were listening, and you had asked him, where is the gas at the top pressing on? And the first round, it was he was saying it was the ground, and then the second time it was itself, and then the third time around when you were asking him, it was pressing on nothing. So in the same hangout, he gave you 3 different answers for the same question. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I've said it before, but the depression that's sweeping its way through the fundamentalist religious zealot globe arena, it's serious. The serious stuff. You know, I mean, I do have a bit of empathy for them. It's going to be hard. This is going to be really painful for them at the moment. You know, their religion's being challenged in such a way that they can't just fight back. They can't even obfuscate the points and laugh about it and ignore it. You know, the head in the sand isn't working either.
Oh, Nathan, by the way, talking about that, yeah, I recently finished up the Big Bang Theory. It ended with the last 12th season, but it was nice. But one of the things that I remember now that was in there is that Sheldon, the presumed weirdo genius, he actually declares he declares the scientific method, and I think he even calls astronomy pseudoscience in an argument. And then it was overlooked after that. It was cool.
You'll have to dig that little snippet
Do you have a
out.
link to that, Owen? Do you have a link to that by any chance?
Yeah, it's called Netflix.
Oh, right, okay. Can you remember the episode number, though?
Not exactly. It's somewhere in the 12th season. So you're gonna, it's like 24 episodes or something. It's, I don't know. You're gonna have to like watching the show.
So only 11
Or
and a
maybe
half
I'll look
hours
it up.
of only 11 and a half hours of footage to wade through then.
Yeah. I loved it.
Excellent. So if you want that excellent citation from Arwin, just need to wade through those 11 and a half hours of the Big Bang. And you might, if you're lucky, find that reference where Sheldon says the scientific method and then says that astrophysics is pseudoscience.
Yeah.
No way. He said that?
Yeah, but just like, what he said, I think I remember him saying it in an anger moment. Because that is typically in his character that if you piss him off, he'll get very nasty and precise, like devilish. And he did that like suddenly, like because he didn't like the other one challenging him, and he gets very rough. And he said this. He sometimes uses real arguments as an attack, but then afterward they don't speak about it anymore because he calmed down. It's interesting.
If you think about the characters on the show, all of them are so-called pseudoscientists. You know, Sheldon is was an astrophysicist.
No,
Theoretical physicist.
There's an engineer, and he doesn't claim to be a scientist.
Well, engineer is not science. Yeah, science
He's
is well, right.
constantly being reminded about that, by the way, by the rest. So, but he did go as an astronaut in the series.
Be careful, Paul. Arwen's very attached to these characters.
Yeah.
I understand. The only one that might be experimental would be Leonard. He might be the only potentially true scientist in the show is Leonard. He's the one in the labs trying to do stuff.
That's true.
Does he have a white coat and a name tag?
I was going to show you this. This is part of that same thing I was sharing a minute ago. And if they ever talk about energy, look, what are they using to illustrate energy? As the entropy is increasing inside the container, you know what I mean? It's still particles. They still use the same, even in this. So I think it's interesting that they dismiss gas and always go to energy, but when they illustrate it, it's always a particle. I just think it's interesting.
Yeah, this would be an example of like a slow puncher, right?
Right, yeah, I was just playing with it. You can. The good thing is, like I said, you can play with it. Oh, Lily always does this. I can't talk. Yes, it's it's a slow. Like it'd be a slow puncture. You can adjust that even smaller if you want to, or you can make it wider. And then if you increase the pressure to the point where the actual lid will pop off. So if you keep increasing the pressure on it, I'll show you. And then you increase
Hey,
the temperature.
knucklehead, Acom virus, blind sniper. Can you show us? You better come off mute. I want you to show us gas pressure without a container right now.
You already have it. You just don't accept it as proof. So I'm not.
Go
gonna
ahead,
present the
show
same
it. What
proof
is
to
it?
you.
Just walk outside, John.
What is it?
Hold on, let Convirus actually answer. He said you've already shown it us, but we don't know what you're showing us, so you'll have to tell us.
This is the fact y'all already been shown it. Y'all don't accept it as proof.
What?
Proof of what?
Gas pressure without a container.
Yeah, what is it though? What are you showing us that demonstrates gas pressure without a container?
I'm not showing anything. It's just the fact that y'all has already been shown it before.
No, we haven't.
Oh.
We haven't. We've never been demonstrated a violation of the second law of thermodynamics ever. So I don't really know
No,
what you're
y'all
talking
never
about.
been. Y'all never been shown the violation.
No.
Y'all see atmospheric pressure without container all the time. So
We see atmospheric pressure.
Y'all don't accept it.
So what do you mean we see atmospheric pressure? Yeah, we understand that. We do see atmospheric pressure. How does that prove we have gas pressure without a container?
Atmospheric pressure doesn't need a container. It presses on the outside of a.
What is the atmosphere made of?
Outside of what? Are we on the outside of the container, the flat earth container? Are we on the
What is
outside?
the atmosphere made of?
Gas.
Yeah, gas.
And there is no proven outside of the
It's not.
container.
It's not an. Is the atmosphere an ideal gas?
No, there are no ideal gases. We mentioned this earlier. I'm still not following you. So is it just your assertion that we don't need it because your version of the world doesn't have a container? Is that your assertion?
No, that is not. Don't put words in my mouth.
I'm asking.
Don't.
He asked you a question.
Okay, well, your answer is no.
So what's the demonstration of gas pressure without a container then?
What is atmosphere? How do you measure atmospheric pressure?
That's
With the barometer.
not an answer.
PSI. How do you measure atmospheric pressure?
With the barometer.
You didn't answer the question. Show
What was
us
the
gas
question, then?
pressure. You said we already seen it and we don't accept it. Show us what we looked at and didn't accept right now.
Blue marble sciences. You didn't accept that. I don't need to
Blue
show it to
marble
you again.
science.
You know what it is.
Hillbilly Blue Balls, the redneck retard, showed up showing or trying
Yeah,
to
your
prove
at-home
gas
don't make
pressure.
things any better
Shut
for you.
up. Hillbilly Blue Balls, the redneck retard, posted a video evidencing gas pressure not needing a container by showing gas in a container. This is tantamount to trying to disprove dogs by broadcasting live from the Blue Tick Coonhound Kennel. He's a retard, and so are you.
He had a container.
How about that?
His pipe.
Can you just?
Pipe was a container.
QE, you are retarded.
His pipe was a container. He
Just
didn't
to say that. To
Okay.
put in your at home.
Is that your answer? Is that
Don't call me out no more.
Dude.
Is that your answer? We haven't accepted gas pressure in a container as gas pressure without a container. Is that what you're saying we haven't accepted? Because he had a pipe, that was the container.
Yeah, 'cause then after that presentation, y'all automatically changed it to, oh, it's just a container. When at first, before that, it was a sealed container. So
The
y'all
name
changing
of the video
goalposts with
was
that.
gas pressure without a container.
Nobody mentioned
No,
sealed.
because before that demonstration came up, it needed to be a sealed container or gas would just instantaneously burst into the available volume. But then once that presentation came up, y'all changed the goalpost, and now it needs to be just a container. It doesn't need to be sealed. Y'all changed the goalpost. Y'all moved the goalpost.
Hey,
That's what y'all
Virus,
did.
wait. Hang on.
Hang on what?
Hey, Anthony.
I want him to define what a vacuum
Yeah, we
is.
are, yeah.
I want him to define what a vacuum is.
Oh, come on.
Well, he's saying that
Say
we've
what?
changed the
Define
goalposts.
vacuum, Virus.
He's just saying we've changed the goalposts
Little
because
or
we
no
need a
air.
sealed container.
The lower pressure and the high pressure system.
Hey, Paul, hold on a second.
So a virus is
What's up?
an
What's
open
up, Nathan?
container analogous to Earth then? Is it like an open container?
I don't really have an opinion on that one. I ain't never thought about that, so I can't really answer that one 100%.
Oh.
Is the Earth an open or a closed system?
No, he just brought in a straw man argument that he doesn't actually understand. So it's just being a clown.
And with that, I'll say a massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of you who tuned in on the Nathan Oakley 1980 premiering stream for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and of course a massive thank you to all of today's debating panel for making this show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!